She was called Moses by her people, a name whispered in the slave quarters of the South, a name that meant hope, a name that meant freedom. But before she was a legend, she was Araminta Ross, a young girl born into the brutal reality of slavery in Maryland. This is the story of Harriet Tubman, not just the icon you read about in textbooks, but the woman, a strategist, a spy, a soldier, and a liberator who stared down death to guide her people to the promised land. Born around 1822, Minty, as she was known, endured the unspeakable cruelty of the system she was born into. From the age of 5, she was rented out, forced into labor, and subjected to regular vicious beatings. A pivotal, life-altering moment came in her early teens. While trying to protect another enslaved person from a furious overseer, a heavy 2-pound metal weight was thrown at her head. The injury nearly killed her. For the rest of her life, she would suffer from severe headaches, seizures, and powerful prophetic visions which she believed were messages from God. This traumatic injury didn't break her, it forged her. Her faith, already strong, became an unshakable guide, convincing her that God had a special purpose for her life. In 1849, the news that she and her brothers were to be sold further south, a virtual death sentence, was the final catalyst. Harriet decided to run. Her first attempt with her brothers failed when they lost their nerve and turned back. But Harriet's resolve was absolute. She later said, "There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other." Following the North Star, using her knowledge of the wilderness, and aided by the secret network of allies known as the Underground Railroad, she made the perilous 90-mile journey to freedom in Philadelphia. Upon arriving, the feeling was overwhelming. "I looked at my hands," she recalled, "to see if I was the same person. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven. But this heaven was incomplete. Her family, her husband, and her community were still in bondage. Her personal freedom was not enough, and so Harriet Tubman made a decision that cemented her place in history. She would go back. This is where the legend of Moses was truly born. Over the next decade, Harriet Tubman returned to the treacherous South at least 13 times, risking her own life with every journey. She was a master of disguise, a brilliant navigator, and a strict conductor. She often traveled in the dead of winter to use the longer nights for cover. She carried a pistol, not just for protection against slave catchers, but also to ensure that no faint-hearted passenger would turn back and endanger the entire group. Her rules were simple: keep going or die. Her faith was her compass, and her visions often warned her of impending danger, allowing her to change routes and evade capture. She guided over 70 people, including her elderly parents and siblings, to freedom. The bounty on her head grew, reportedly reaching as high as $40,000, an astronomical sum at the time. Yet she was never caught, and as she famously boasted, she never lost a passenger. Her success was so profound, so seemingly miraculous, that many slave owners believed the Moses they were hunting was not a 5-foot-tall woman, but a mythical figure or a white abolitionist man. They simply could not conceive that a black woman could be so audacious and so successful. But her fight for freedom didn't end with the Underground Railroad. When the Civil War erupted, Harriet Tubman saw a new front in the battle against slavery. She immediately offered her services to the Union Army, first as a nurse and a cook, and then as something far more dangerous, a scout and a spy. Her knowledge of the terrain, her ability to move undetected, and her network of contacts among the enslaved population made her an invaluable asset. She gathered crucial intelligence from behind enemy lines, mapping territories and identifying Confederate supply lines. Her most audacious military action came in June of 1863 with the Combahee River Raid in South Carolina. Working alongside Colonel James Montgomery, Harriet planned and led the expedition. She guided 3 Union steamboats through Confederate-controlled waters, avoiding underwater mines she had learned about from local enslaved people. As the Union soldiers went ashore, setting fire to plantations and destroying Confederate supplies, Harriet's voice rang out, calling the enslaved to the boats. Chaos erupted as hundreds ran for their lives, for their freedom. In a single night, over 750 people were liberated. This raid was a stunning military success, and Harriet Tubman became the first woman in American history to lead an armed military raid. After the war, Harriet's fight for justice continued. She settled in Auburn, New York, on a piece of land sold to her by abolitionist Senator William Seward. Despite her legendary status and her service to the country, she struggled financially. The government denied her a military pension for years, initially refusing to recognize her service as a soldier and spy. Yet she remained tireless in her advocacy. She became a powerful voice in the women's suffrage movement, working alongside leaders like Susan B. Anthony and Emily Howland. To her, the fight for women's right to vote was an extension of the fight for liberty she had waged her entire life. Her final act of service was establishing the Harriet Tubman Home for the Aged on her property, a place to care for the elderly and indigent in her community. She poured her own meager resources into it, ensuring that those who had nothing would have a safe place to live out their days. Harriet Tubman passed away in 1913, at the age of about 91, surrounded by friends and family. She was buried with military honors, a belated recognition of her incredible service to her country. Harriet Tubman's story is more than just a tale of escape. It is a testament to the power of courage, faith, and an unyielding commitment to the freedom of others. She was a woman who, despite being born with nothing, managed to change the course of history, not with political power or wealth, but with the sheer force of her will. She saw a world of injustice and refused to accept it, risking her own life again and again to light the way for others. Her legacy is not just in the hundreds she personally freed, but in the timeless inspiration she provides to all who fight for a more just and equitable world. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the lives of incredible historical figures. We'll see you in the next one.